what are the skills required to build a successful career in data analytics? So, how you see the impact of AI in data analytics? What are the expectations of the company from the candidates now? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Career Conversation Podcast. In this podcast, we invite industry experts from various domains to share their learnings and experience. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Paneeta Gupta. She is having around more than 7 years of experience in data and business analytics. She has worked with Zomato, Deloitte, and Uber. Today, we are going to learn how to build a successful career in data analytics. So, welcome, Paneeta, to the show.
Thank you, Dushyant. Thank you for having me.
So, how was your journey starting from Deloitte and becoming a mentor in data analytics?
Yeah, so I was a campus hire at Deloitte. I did my engineering from Manipal Institute of Technology, and from there itself, I got into Deloitte. Now the thing is, I had opted for consulting, but when they hire people, you really don't know which domain they will put you in, right? So I got into SAP consulting, but I was very fortunate that I was working on the data aspect of data migration projects that were existing there, right? So I
Okay.
was like from the beginning, I was working on skills like SQL and Excel. Right, so I did that for about 4.5 years. When I
Mhm.
realized, I want to work more in depth in the data analysis part rather than SAP data migration. So that is
Okay.
when I decided to make a switch, and I was fortunate that I got an opportunity with a great company like Uber. Again, like I said, great company and proper data analytics role was there. I was working with data engineering teams. I was working like a mediator between data engineering and business stakeholders also. Right, so there, impact analysis, maintaining the KPIs for global stakeholders, that was my
Mhm.
main job. And of course, doing impact analysis with whatever changes we were doing. So while that was going on, somehow when I had updated my resume, somebody, a consulting firm who was helping out Zomato reached out to me. They said, if you are looking for a change or if you want to sit for an interview round, let's like give you an opportunity. So I'd only been working for like 5 or 6 months at Uber, but when
Mhm.
Zomato happened, I gave it a try, and yeah, so I was able to successfully convert that job also. So when I joined Zomato, it's a proper fast-paced startup product company, hardcore data analytics role.
Mhm.
You're working with different stakeholders, different pods at the same time. And my experience was very different in Zomato, given that I was working with MNCs prior to this, right? So the
Right.
culture difference was quite big at the beginning, but I got accustomed to it in some while, and I worked on multiple different kinds of projects and with different teams. Then, when I completed my 7 years, I thought of taking a break from my career and focus on few other things, try out different aspects, and since a lot of data analytics aspirants were reaching out to me anyway through
Right.
LinkedIn or through other mediums, I thought maybe I should capitalize on the mentorship bit and continue working on that further. So that's how my journey as a mentor began couple of months ago, and I'm continuing that, and I'm really enjoying it also at it.
As many people are reaching out in terms of data analytics role, our question is same. What are the skills required to build a successful career in data analytics?
Let's begin with the skills. So first of all, in terms of programming languages, right? One is SQL, which is like a must, and then the other is Python, right? So what I always tell students or learners is become masters of at least one and know the basics of the other, right?
Right.
So SQL and Python work like that. Then another important tool is Excel, Microsoft Excel,
Mm.
and you need to know how to clean the data using Excel, how to add formulas, how to analyze data, and also create dashboards and visualizations using Excel. It's a very powerful tool, and often students just work on the basics of it and do not understand how efficiently you can use Excel as a data analyst. And then third becomes a data visualization tool, be it
Mhm.
Power BI, be it Tableau. So at least if you know one, and if you have that in your resume, it gives a boost. And yeah, so these are the four main aspects. Along with that, knowing basics of statistics will go a long way. Yeah.
Right. And if you go more deeper, as
Hmm.
you mentioned Python, right? Python at top level is very broad thing.
Yeah.
But when you go data analytics special, do they need to learn special libraries where this library are used to process the data?
Yeah, so NumPy and Pandas are two libraries that you should know. Pandas,
Mhm.
more so because it helps you in data manipulation, data extraction, working with data frames, and then for visualization in Python, knowing Matplotlib and Seaborn again assist you in creating visuals.
Right. And how they are going to learn this one? Because again, too many complex things are there, too many resources are available. So from where the right ideal way to learn from this?
Good question. So, of course, see, once you know that you need to work on Python NumPy and Python Pandas libraries, right? Then there is, of course, a lot of content that is available on YouTube also. How would I approach the learning process would be using data sets that are available on Kaggle, right? Downloading them, understanding the problem statement, and then performing an exploratory data analysis on that data set using NumPy, Pandas on that data set, and then finally creating visualizations through Matplotlib and Seaborn, right? So again, this is something that is for like all the skill sets. Practice is the most important thing, right?
Right.
Even if you're learning something from YouTube, unless and until you go ahead and you do it yourself, you're not going to really learn the skill, right? So that's
Right.
one thing. So yeah, that's about Python. For SQL, again, there are too many platforms available. uh,
Mhm.
YouTube is fine, but in terms of practicing, there are platforms like HackerRank, LeetCode, SQL Practice, and Data Lemore. So all of these provide great practice questions where people can go. Some of them are for free. Some of them, you have to buy the subscription to solve the problems. But the level, right from the basic, going up to the high hard questions, all of those are available on these platforms.
Let's explore by one example.
Yeah.
Let's take a food delivery example. Okay, there's tons of data in terms of the food delivery application, and from taking a data set from Kaggle till data visualization. What is the process anyone should follow to create a case study?
Even for a food delivery, there are different points, right? So the first thing is understanding the user journey that
Mhm.
happens as a customer when you're landing on the application, right? So first thing is you download the app. After that, you're opening the app, and what all do you see? What all can you do, right? You
Mhm.
come across a restaurant's page. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to explain the user journey and then how to approach a problem statement accordingly,
Okay.
okay, using the data set. So once you have landed on the app, you've seen that there are like restaurant pages available. You will either scroll down, you will click on some restaurant,
Mhm.
and then finally when you land on that page, you will maybe add items to your cart. If you don't like that restaurant, you will go back, you will maybe explore some other restaurant, and likewise you will spend couple of minutes doing the same thing. Finally, when you have built your cart and you want to place the order, you will go on that checkout button, and then comes the option to apply promo code, apply some additional discount that might be offered through bank codes or something else, and then you move on to payment method, right? Now after you have made the payment also, there is a big chain where the restaurant will accept the order, then the delivery partner will get assigned. There will be an ETA that comes to the customer, and finally the delivery partner will pick up. I mean, the restaurant will first prepare the order, then the delivery partner goes to pick up the order, and then they ride towards the location, drop location, and finally they hand it over and mark it as delivered, right? So it's a
Right.
big user journey which feels like very
Mhm.
short when you're working on the app, but it's
Right.
a big journey, right? So when you are downloading the data, you need to understand what aspect of the user journey do you want to approach, right? So that is how you decide your problem statement. Okay, so within this also multiple projects can be created. Okay, so the first thing is to analyze, say, the sales data, or how the business is performing, right? So you want to create KPIs for that. So how would you approach this? You would see how are the orders trending week over week, the revenue numbers, and how is your cart to order conversion, right? Which means people are coming and building the cart, but how many are actually, what percentage are placing the order? So these sort of metrics you will look at when you are dealing with, say, growth. You're looking at growth in for that business. Second thing would be you're trying to find out some product features or some technical things about it, right? Then you will
Right.
start looking at the user journey from the start, like app opens, where our customers dropping after the as app is opened, or if they're facing some technical glitches in the payment aspect. So these are some things, right? Another way is at the delivery point, right? From a delivery partner's perspective also, so many metrics can be created, right?
Mhm.
How many of them, like that becomes a logistics thing, a logistics kind of problem statement, where you're trying to understand how many riders are onboarded, how many delivered uh, on the right time, and maybe you're trying to create an incentive program for the riders itself. Then different types of metrics will come into the picture, right? And finally, the last point is the customer satisfaction, and CSAT scores and SLA are very important when it comes to customer feedback and customer review, right? So there
Right.
again, how many orders were there which got rejected, how many had some issues, did not get delivered on time, right? Customer satisfaction score is given after the issue is resolved, right? So these are some three or four different kinds of projects that I have already suggested out of a food delivery business, like say Zomato or Swiggy. So this is how you will identify the problem statement first. What do you want to improve, or what do you want to analyze or work on? Okay. Now your problem statement is defined. You will go and download the data set. The first thing is understanding the data and cleaning the data, right? So that is your first step.
Mhm.
Now in that, what will you look for? First is if there are missing values in the data, so you will fix that. If the data format is not correct, right, so then you're working on data types, right? If that is not correct, you will fix those. Along with missing data, some incorrect data, and there might be some columns which are not relevant to you, so you would maybe remove those. You will check for duplicates, etc. So these all things come under data uh, cleaning part. Once you have
Mhm.
cleaned the data and you're ready to analyze, then the metrics that I had told, right, you will list down those metrics. You will, if you're working on Excel, you will create pivot tables, you will add formulas, and create those metrics. And finally, you will create a dashboard basis your analysis and findings. So that visualization is your third part. Okay, and there, whatever metrics you created and analyzed, it's not necessary all will go in the visualization, because all metrics might not be giving you any relevant information. So this is how you would approach a project.
In this also there are certain scenario happen. Either we can have the real time data or the we have the archival. Because if we download data, process it, and then create some analytics out of that one, again we have to do same process for next month and next month, right? And then some company want that everything should be real time to understand and process it.
Yes, correct. Um, okay, so see, what I just spoke about would ideally be done on a historical data set, because you are an external person. That is what you would have access to, right? The public data. Now, of course, there comes a requirement where you have to create real time dashboards that get updated automatically, say on a daily basis. So that is where partitioning comes into the picture. Are your tables date partitioned, week partitioned, month partitioned, right? Depending on your requirement. So that
Mhm.
of course happens, right? Now the very basic thing like orders, if an order is getting placed, you want that to be captured on your in your tables on real time, right? You can't have कि
Mhm.
हाँ
Mhm.
कल मिलेगा orders का data. That is not something that you can look at, right? So of course, depending on the requirement, these things happen, and more often than not, data engineering teams in the companies take care of how to ensure that data reaches everybody or data analysts on time. So this
Mhm.
is something that they would take care of. And then further automation of dashboards and all, that is something data analysts would take care.
And in real time also there is situation happen. Either can be it can be SQL, it can be
Yes.
MongoDB, or different types of database can be happen. And then how to jungle around that different types of skill?
So see, I would recommend that as a data analyst or as a data analytics aspirant, right? Not to focus too much on that piece in the beginning, okay?
Mhm.
Because that comes more under the purview of data engineering, right? From my perspective, you need to understand the functions that you would need to analyze and structure your data, right? So on the database side, I would suggest we don't get too into the depth of it because it will get confusing for people. It's not something that a lot of jobs for data analyst would have that in the JD.
So majorly we are seeing the data analytics role where the data will come to you maybe in some dumb format, and then you have to process it that
Correct.
more makes sense there than the working on the real time, right?
Yes, yes. Even on the real time, they would be giving you data on real time basis. So this is like a real time project even I was working on. So data engineering would create data pipelines, ensuring
Mhm.
that timely data is given to the analytics team. Then I had created derived tables on that real time information which they were collating, and
Right.
then I was processing it and cleaning it. That used to come in like JSON format, etc. Again, another complex thing. So then when you put it in a proper format, and then dashboards used to get updated, so timing becomes an
Mhm.
issue. And in our company, we used to handle all of that using scheduling of DAGs through Airflow and GitHub.
And we discuss more about the technical skill. What are the soft skills required for
Yeah.
data analytics?
Communication becomes one big thing, right? Because after analysis, you need to present your findings, right?
Mhm.
You are a storyteller. You're understanding the data,
Mm.
you're creating a story out of it, and you need to present your story to your stakeholders. So, communication becomes one important thing. And again, stakeholder management is the second thing. By that, I mean, as a data analyst, more often than not, you're working with multiple stakeholders at the same time. So,
Mm.
prioritizing the work, whose work is more important, understanding that, and then delivering accordingly. So, that
Mm.
again becomes another skill that you should know.
And most of the times we are seeing these data analytics roles are going to report and work with the internal stakeholder only. Because all the data will be processed and presented to internal businesses to make a future decision.
Not necessarily. So, it depends on the kind of business there is, right? So, there are some consulting firms also. So,
Mhm.
there you are working for external clients. They have
Mhm.
given you the requirement and the problem statement. Then you will, probably a market research part is also involved in that, where you're getting data from outside, then you're analyzing it, and then you are sharing with them. So
Mm.
that in that case you would have external clients, right? But in like a product based company like Zomato, most of my job was into like to work with internal stakeholders. We were only looking at the growth metrics all the time.
So we are seeing that data analytics opportunity in product company, service company, consulting. Anywhere else you also find the opportunities?
That's more or less, yeah, product, service, and consulting. These are three major domains that hire. Further, just deep diving into like product, also there's like fintech, edtech, all of these
Mhm.
industries again have a requirement for data analysts.
And with the time, if someone has the domain experience, that also plays important role.
Yes, correct, correct. So, not necessarily, I would say, but there are certain companies which would prefer that, if you are an analyst and you also have a finance degree, so that would be like an advantage when they're hiring for a finance company. Certain roles will be there where, like recently I saw somewhere they wanted HR, like MBA in HR, and they wanted analytics background also. So, all sorts of
Okay.
different combinations exist.
So as the new technologies are coming that are impacting all the roles. So how you see the impact of AI in data analytics?
Yeah, this is again another very commonly asked question. So I think the penetration of AI in companies is still very less. Okay,
Okay.
so I would say what I think 2 to 3% of companies are completely dependent on AI, whereas there might be like 5 to 10% more which are using AI in some or the other format. right?
Mhm.
So until this number itself becomes very big, and we have about 30-40% of companies who are working on AI, who have adopted AI in a great in some or the other capacity, I don't think we need to worry. I think we still have 4 to 5 years for sure before we need to worry that AI is going to take over all the jobs.
But that we are seeing from negative side. What are the positive side of how AI is helping the data analytics?
Yeah, so of course, I mean, sometimes you get stuck, you don't know how to solve a problem, and with the advent of
Mhm.
AI, it's easier to solve problems, of course. So again, uh,
Mhm.
combination of AI and human together just make the job better. Of course, it will give you the code which you're not able to figure out. It saves time. So I think that's one. And some companies are also automating their report generation through AI. That is another thing.
But uh, as we are seeing that this all data is very critical for business, for data security also plays a critical role, and that's what we are seeing the impact of data security, because either the companies are not exposing the data to external parties or the AI agents, and that's why the internal people play important role.
Sorry. So yeah, see, data security is of course very, very, very crucial. Okay, and that also happens in layers. Okay, there are some data that internally can be accessed. Like, let me take the example of Zomato. Right, some data is already available for public use. Right, the prices
Mhm.
of items and what promo discount is being offered at the restaurant level. So all of that is already available on the application. Right, so tomorrow Swiggy
Right.
can go and access that and take actions accordingly. So that is available. But there are certain things like, what are we strategizing, what are the metrics that we are looking at. So that is for internal consumption. We do not want external teams to understand that, or our competitor to know what is happening or what are we looking at, right? That
Mhm.
becomes an internal thing. Then at Deloitte, I was working on a project where we were migrating HR data of the client, and
Mhm.
that involved personal information of the employees. So their
Mhm.
social security numbers, uh, their addresses, their phone numbers, everything, right? So in that case, not even my other teammates had access, right? In total, there were three folks who were working on the project, and we had end-to-end administration. So we have to control all these restrictions and access through
Mhm.
admin roles, and it's very important to document and maintain the logs, who at what point had access to what kind of information and data.
So as we discussed, there are multiple important aspects for data analytics. Now many companies are hiring for data analytics role, right? So what they are looking for in the candidate, either for the fresher or experience? What are the expectations of the company from the candidates now?
So I think skills, of course, I mentioned. So if you come from a BTech background, you get a slight advantage because
Okay.
we are taught mathematics and
Mm.
statistics as part of the course. So that is one thing that people prefer. But having said that, it does not mean that people from other profiles and other backgrounds cannot get into data analytics. Okay? So how do they approach data analytics roles? It has to do with your portfolio projects. You
Mhm.
have to work on different kinds of data sets, be it sales data set, finance data set, some operational data set. You have to
Mhm.
work on the projects and showcase different skills. Work on one project using SQL, Excel, Python, etc. Create a
Mhm.
portfolio of projects, upload it on GitHub or whatever platform, then add that in your resume. So the person, the hiring manager or the recruiter should know that you know how to approach a data analytics project. That's the
Right.
idea behind it, right? So along with the skills, they need to work on creating a portfolio for themselves. And that is one thing I think which people need to focus on. And yeah, I just want to add that people from other domains do get hired. I had a person from operations who was working in my team as a data analyst,
Mhm.
right? So opportunities are there. People should just focus their energy towards creating a good portfolio for themselves.
When we say portfolio, what exactly is it? It should be the some data visualization charts or outcome which signify something or which creates some story out of that one. Because the
Yeah.
Python SQL scripts are not going to help, right?
When at the beginning of this session we spoke about like how to approach a project, right? Starting from
Right.
what data you downloaded, then how did you clean the data, and then if you wrote some queries or code on that, and then you visualize. So all of those 4 or 5 steps need to be performed and need to be
Mhm.
written about in your project. Okay, so the
Right.
final output will more or less be a data visualization, like a dashboard where you've
Mhm.
included all the charts which are showing how your trends are, and your data is moving. But you need to define your entire process. What did you do? What was your approach towards selecting certain metrics? All of that needs to be highlighted in your project, and you create a summary, a report out of it along with the final dashboard.
And in terms of data visualization tools, the Power BI, Taboola are the most used tools.
Yes.
And what are the best resources to learn that one?
So, see, there, of course, YouTube is one. There are lots of YouTube channels that are offering good content on that also. Secondly, Udemy is one place where you get some cheap courses, right? Along with
Mhm.
certification, also they provide at the end of it.
Mhm.
So I think that's one place. I mean, there's no shortage of content available. It's just that
Right.
if you want a certificate, then maybe apply for a course. Otherwise, if you
Mhm.
just want to learn it, then maybe approach through YouTube or something, and you can learn it.
So technically, we define they should have the understanding of Python, SQL,
Yes.
and visualization tool to create some visible outcome, right? The second, the important aspect is understanding the product or the problem, right? Because
Yeah.
what you want to achieve that needs to be clear. So you are
Correct.
working in any domain, you have to deeply understand the product for which you are
Mm.
doing this analysis, or the problem which you want to solve it.
Yes.
And
Uh,
yeah, you want to share more details on that one?
Yeah, so I mean, in real projects, also when we are working, right? I think one of the misconceptions is that a data analyst is only told what they need to do, right? Some business stakeholder will come, they'll say, I need XYZ data, and they will have to extract it, do some magic on it, and just share it,
Right.
right? But that is not always the case. You are very
Mhm.
much a stakeholder yourself in the business problem solution finding part, right? So we used to collectively sit with business teams and product teams and brainstorm on say we've seen some issues in the trend, right? It has deviated from its natural progression. Then all of us would sit together, understand the problem, then define, this is how we want to perform the RCA on that, right? Find the root cause analysis, and then you as a data analyst, because you know the data inside out, you would
Mhm.
suggest that this is possible, maybe we should look at it from this angle. So you are very much a stakeholder yourself. That is why having an understanding of the data, understanding of the business, and understanding of the
Mhm.
problem statement is the most important thing, even before you get into your technical skills.
Right. And what is your final advice to all the people who want to start the career in data analytics?
Yeah, I think practice, practice, practice. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of people just go through a course, and based on that they will go and sit for
Mhm.
interviews, but they're never able to crack it. Okay,
Right.
so the major problem is they don't practice enough, right?
Mhm.
And even in SQL, just knowing window functions or knowing CT and subquery is not enough. You need to know how to apply and what to apply when, right? In the interview, the interviewer is not going to tell you, okay, हाँ ये CT से करो, right?
Mhm.
So you need to identify how to apply things. So practice is the main thing. Secondly, work on portfolio projects so that you get shortlisted. Otherwise,
Mhm.
again, people say that we are not getting calls, we're not getting shortlisted. That's because you need to show some relevant experience, and
Right.
especially for freshers, portfolio projects are the way to go about it, right? And third thing would be learn to tell a story out of the data that you have worked on. So that's again
Mhm.
another thing, that's a soft skill that we discussed, and it's very important, communication along with representing your story.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paneetha, for your time and sharing your experience in data analytics career.
Yeah, thank you, Dushyant. It was great having this conversation.
Thank you so much.